Just to introduce myself, first I want to build out from what Stephen has so adequately covered about the extent and of the route. I'd like to just spend a minute on my competency to put forward this proposal that I come from with a deep knowledge of it. The red dots, I was senior executive engineer in the Dublin County Council from 1980 to 93. That's the time with the initiation of all the motorways around Dublin, the actual design of that part of it and the EISs and the delivery of them. So as the senior executive engineers in roads planning and roads control, I dealt with all the applications in the area in the county, both north and south, at different times. And I had a direct input to maintaining the reservations, realigning the reservation because I had the role of forward planning as well. At that time, we would have dealt with thousands of applications because, you know, in the early 80s, there was no charge for making an application. You just submitted it. On that route, I made a lot of initiatives that actually enabled the route to be built quickly and fast. One of them was Leopardstown Racecourse, not unsimilar. I went through there, and by relocating the southeastern motorway away from residential areas, like Sandyford there on the bottom, on the left-hand corner of your screen, on the bottom one, you can see a triangle of motorways surrounding Sandyford and all the adjoining areas. I brought that down through the racecourse, and that saved, according to consultants at the time who measured it, the savings was about 290 million back in the early 90s. And it also, the cost benefit increased of that section of the proposal enormously. It more than doubled it. Across there in CRI took it out of the controversial areas. That scheme went, the EIS and CPO went through there. And I'd like to mention that there were maybe less than a fifth of the houses. There was no houses demolished when the CPO, at the time of the CPO and all that, everything was taken care of. There was 3 houses, but people had actually found new residences, which I had some involvement in, and so on. So roads need not be controversy. The M1 motorway, I was project engineer on that for the EIS and for the design. We did the design in-house. I had 2 assistant engineers, just first-year assistant, on that scheme, and I delivered it in about 16 months, ready for inquiry. And the inquiry was held about 2 years after I had started it. So just to say the relevance of it in that scheme, because the M1 motorway from the airport to the Balbriggan bypass, that was the biggest motorway scheme at the time that I was handed it. But I was also had the responsibility for all the other roads in Dublin, in dealing with developers at that time as well. So if we can go to the next slide here, I'll show you the estuary is. I have to figure out how to get the next one. Which should there? Oh, that's it. Yeah, I didn't press it hard enough. Sorry. This is the Broadmills Estuary, part of the M motorway scheme that I was the design engineer and EIS project engineer. And you can see that it goes through an SAC and all the equipment that goes with that. That bridge was designed by Arab. We had a lot of problems with how it could be accommodated. Separating the bridges was my idea. I saw that the light in, and also the different options we looked at there. We overcame a lot of design problems on that on it. I'll just go to the next slide now on it. The fundamental problem, or the fundamental issue, as far as I can see, is the tranquility of the River Corrib. That's the environmental part, but also the impact on residential areas. And then they link in with the national routes, maintaining the hierarchical aspect of that. This is a question of the sum of the parts, or the total being greater than the individual parts. And this is very much to the forefront, because if the hierarchical nature isn't maintained in roads, the investment of all the rest of the investment in our national routes is greatly diminished, because it cannot be utilised as intended. Efficiency connection is not just kind of cost-benefit analysis. It's the utilisation in industrial use and business use and everything else like that. So I have a picture here on the left of the Galway City Development Plan, and on the left you can see the Quincentennial Bridge. Inspector, I would ask you maybe to stand beside that bridge for 5 minutes and listen to the noise. That river is not tranquil there at all in any means or manner. It was totally tranquil, just as the area of the river at Menlo Castle and the sports grounds of NUIG are the same. So on it. The next slide here just shows you, I'm just building out now from the national framework. We have the policy objectives and strategy, and the fundamental objectives are that the roads be safe and safe as possible. And the amendment I'm going to mention, eliminating or reduces, makes the junctions freer flows, so in other words, safer. The hierarchical and connected are interlinked, and the efficient and environment. The blue roads there are the motorway network, and the pink the purple roads are the other national roads framework as well on it. So looking in at Galway here to meet the objectives, I really feel that the proposal needs to be amended, and the amendment actually ties in very, very well with what's already been proposed. As a matter of fact, it builds out from it. It utilises what's there. It utilises the reservations, the CPOs, and so on, as you will see as I go on. Stephen summarised the road, the connection. I'll go into a bit more detail as to why, how the road will function in an overall field here. Basically, is on the link at the R33, overall the green line, the green parts of the road. The green is the ARB proposal on it. The amendment eliminates the green totally. It eliminates all the CPO on that part of the green, except where the dashed line, the orange line dashed is on top of it. So it eliminates the road between Letra and Dangan Road, which is quite a steep cut. So it eliminates a big cut through the mountain. It utilises the cut already proposed just west of it, at where the R33 is shown here at the R33. So the biggest difference is that it maintains the hierarchy, that it joins the N59 directly with the N6. It shortens that journey by a whopping 1.8 kilometres. It does not prejudice in any means or manner the aspiration of the Galway City Development Plan to have a distributor road, because that links back to Aughnacura. The link R336 there is a high-grade link. There's a free flow interchange at point 5 there where the three roads come together. So somebody coming from Aughnacura has a very free flow down onto the N59, and very definite in time and standard. Whereas at the moment, they get off at Letra interchange. They will turn left. This is coming from Aughnacura from the west to Letra interchange. They will turn left and they'll go down a steep hill. So they have to go through a junction there and a junction at Bushypark, will be a non-functioning junction, which I will demonstrate later. So that movement, it actually better serves the development plan aspiration to have a distributor road that links into the road network. It also, in dealing with the other aspiration to have a link, a pedestrian and cycle link down, that road at R336 will be so busy, it'll be the most awful road to cycle or walk beside. You walk beside any busy road that's just carriageway in each direction, with trucks, everything going up and down it. It's just be horrible. But there is room to accommodate a cycle path without going into the separate from the cut, because you can use different gradients and you can vary the routes slightly along that reservation, or to take another reservation, maybe utilize part of what is the reservation going between the Aughnacura there at the R336 and down to Dangan Upper, which is, you see the 0.6 there on it. You could bring a cycler path in that, but also that land will be developed in due course. So that will enable that to happen in due course. The other aspects of the road are that it's not just eliminating the motorway reservation going down to the cliff, it's eliminating the CPO on the Bushypark Road at the church there, at a 0.3 on it, and at Upper Dangan Upper on it. So to outline the advantages of it, they're on the right there. The board plan, as Stephen has said there, we crossed the River Corrib at a bridge up at 9 up there at the top. Across the river, a river where it's much narrower. It's about a third narrower than it is down between points 11 and 12. It's already an alignment that was approved initially by our board planola, and this part was never in contention, the approval of this on it. So it can be a bridge or an aqueduct. As Stephen has outlined, the construction works are greatly shortened. So, you know, as I said, and repeat again, it utilises the on board plan all approved it, and the sorry, I thought this had gone down. Yes, it takes the road out of the controversial areas of the Menlo Castle, of the sports grounds, the hockey grounds, Aughnacura, Ard and Locha. The Dangan Road, big overbridge on it, and it takes that junction at Locha, which can be maintained, but it's totally simplified because the traffic on it would only be a fraction of what it would be in the current situation. Again, the routes are, the junctions are rationalised. The junctions 1, 2 and 3 are replaced by a single junction at 4. The junction 1 and 2 are at the Locha junction. The junction 3 is at Bushypark, and junction 4 is at Glenlow. So this is the summary that Stephen has already gone over. Just before I come to that slide, I take this one first. To take the detail of the route and just how well it fits in with the environment. I've never seen a scheme that fitted better into the environment, and I've done a lot of schemes, motorway schemes around the country, and bypasses I was involved in, relocating or designing and optimizing them. So I've never seen something that was optimized so well with so little on it. So the Galway, the GCOB, the Galway City Outer Bypass, the original scheme, that's the bridge that is shown crossing the River Corrib. It's about 500 metres long on it, and you know, in some sense, I think it's kind of similar to the one at Broadmeadows. It'll be more or less the same width, because the Broadmeadows one has lanes, 3 lanes in each direction, but the third lane is what would be maybe the hard shoulder, but it's normal on bridges to use the hard shoulder as a lane. It's quite a common practice and well accepted practice. So taking the road, starting from the new road where it joins with the N6, I've taken the alignment of the N6 there to the bottom right, the vertical alignment is the same, and I've brought it down under a new road, because that will totally take the road out of the environment of new road by having it in cut. It's also much cheaper to put the bigger road under and the small road over. And as I note in a lot of the scheme, like the smaller road is under, even though the approach roads on the smaller road on each side are above, the approach roads on each side of the motorway, say a Letra road, are higher than as the approach roads come in towards the motorway, they sink down, but the motorway is put over instead of being put maybe at ground level or below ground level on it. So that tie-in at New Road, I'm bringing it under, and I'm keeping it in cut going at the back of Menlo. And you can see the Menlo lane coming through here. There's an overbridge. So the lane is maintained on it, or you know, it could be an avenue in the future. And there's an expression to join that with an underground link to the avenue at Dangan, which could be absolutely an amazing avenue. But the road, as proposed at the moment, cuts right over it. And one thing you don't really want to mess with or diminish is avenues, because the long straight avenue are quite precious, and they have quite a historic effect. So the road then approaches the river either in cut or bridge. And I've shown a bridge to scale on it. Now, the vertical scale is totally exaggerated, because in practice, this is absolutely pretty flat, you know, on it. We dip down the road and we take it up the other side. This type of situation is very, very common in Holland. And there's one example I'd like to show you, that the ground level is 2 meters below sea level, but the road dips, that's all the land, but the road still dips under a lake, as part of a lake that I show you. The road then proceeds to the northwest, and you can see the N6 interchange, the trumpet interchange. That interchange is similar to interchanges on the M50 motorway, say at the N4 Galway interchange or the Naas interchange. It works quite well. It's a very tight interchange. It takes the minimum amount of land. You could also put alternative interchange with an extra number of bridges that would be free flow on it. But the road proceeds then up to Glenlow Abbey in cut. If when you drive in the Mycullen Road towards Glenlow Abbey, the road is low and it rises up, and then it drops down again as you say go onto this route, this amendment that I'm showing. So this allows the road to be kept in cut. So if you take the road in front of Glenlow Abbey there on it, the road is about 3 meters or 2 or 3 meters cut there on it. It could be brought further down, but the ground is already about 4 or 5 meters below, 3 or 4 meters below the road that is fronting the houses here on the M50. You can see the arrow move up and down. So from the viewpoint of these houses, that road will be totally out of sight. It'll move the road in front of their houses away. It'll diminish the need to upgrade the section of the N59 heading towards the city, because it's already a substantial road. But what this alignment facilitates, it facilitates the tying in with the proposed upgrade of the N59, which I understand is pretty far advanced. There's an 800-meter section that between Glenlow Abbey and my Cullen, the last 800 metres of that route. And there's also the proposal to bypass my Cullen. Now, all these are going to totally change, the traffic that arrives down this road, the hierarchical function of the N59 on it. And just to go back up to this slide again, this shows the tie-in. I've shown 5 metres of cut here. It's actually 5 in one spot. So taking the road then that goes back to Letra, what's different here is that we're continuing down the slope that the ARP has proposed on it. They've come quite steep down the hill, and then they just level off at the last minute to join that road, just continuing that road down. So you'd be 7 metres in front of Bushypark House, moving down, and it then breaks surface. The bridge is over there because you need the maximum height to get to lift the road that joins as it comes up the steep hill to minimise the curves. So it utilises the ground to help as much as possible on it. Coming to the fundamental area of traffic, this map shows an awful lot. It shows that the Mycullen Road on the left is at 120% capacity. So any kind of measurements on roads, that type of road, are pointless, because you're dealing with the saturation, and you're dealing with what's there. You're dealing with how it's used. You're not dealing with what the demand is, that you use the road if it was possible. That you could do your business in a reasonable time. The yellow is 80% to 100% on it. So you can see that the sheer extent of the problem on those queues. And I can only see those queues getting worse on the N59 with the Bushypark Junction as it's proposed at the moment. And that will become apparent in a few minutes. This is the catchment of the N59, and you can see that it serves substantial area of the country. 2 quite large towns, Aughnacura and Ard and Mycullen, and also you have Clifton and Letterfrack and a few other towns as well. You can see how the catchment is influenced by the river, by Loch Mask and the Corrib. This route, the N59, does not have cross links to the N84 and so on, like other national routes have. So the traffic on it is funneled. So it makes the hierarchical function all the more critical for the whole environment and our business and well-being, or function, people living their lives in Connemara. This map illustrates the effect of commerce in that. A lot of money was spent between 2016 and 2018 building the upgrade, the M17 to Tuam, and you can see the effect of that. You have 6, 8, and 10% colours and accessibility and efficiency added, and suddenly it comes to a stop. You see those dark colours, you'd expect to see lighter colours beside the darker ones to the west, but it's not. The asterisks there show where the Mask and the Corrib, and I've shown you previously that the traffic that would want to come in to the city from the other routes, cutting across at the top, just go back here. You can see that the Headford Road, the N84, how blocked it is. So there aren't really options for people to come in. They really only have what the N59 offers, but there are roads across the gap there that link those in. So it just utilises what we have better if you have a proper hierarchical connection. This, I don't know if I can. This is just a simple Excel diagram with the figures that the traffic analysis showed on it. And the question was put to me that, oh, if we went with this, let me go back to the junction, the Bushypark junction, and if we put the junction here, there's going to be about 700 vehicles turning onto this road and never be able to manage it because there's so much traffic is going into the city centre. If you look at that traffic going into the city centre first, it really just serves the hospital and the university. And that's not going to really change too much over the years, but everything else is going to change because, you know, they're kind of grown out in that aspect of it. Also, that junction, the amount of turning movements. But if you take that junction at Glenlow Abbey and you go to the junction proposed here at the church, there's actually more turning movements at that junction that are, to really just to say it properly. At point 3 there, you can see the green line coming down. There's more traffic coming down that road. When you add those turning movements in, it's just slightly greater. It is 10%. You actually have a 9% more turning movements than you have at Glenlow in the amendment. But the turning movements at 3 are much worse because there's kind of 3 separate large movements. And it's 9% worse, but it won't work because of that. And the justice and the width of the capacity, and it's going to require mega works again to increase that, but you can't really upgrade it with a separate junction. While there are turning movements at Glenlow Abbey at 4, you can grade separate that and have it free flow. But also in this amendment, as I mentioned earlier, there's the upgrading of the road between Glenlow Abbey for 800 metres just to the northwest on it. But that road can be brought in separately into this here, linking in, and you can keep the existing road network as it is, with the next 3 junctions linked in to this local road network. And that's one thing also that's kind of missing out, is that there are a lot of crossroads between Barna and Aughnacura onto the M59, which are used, which explains a lot of the traffic that people are going in early morning. They will not be using those roads will not need to be used in the same way with the amendment. So just coming to that, it shows the traffic on it, and that's just purely using the figures that they are provided. Now, one critical point here is the traffic model, because I've mentioned to you about the hairpin bend on the road on it. This hairpin bend adds 1.8 kilometers to the traffic movement, and you put that, and difficult because you've got 3 junctions on it, and it's not free flow. You do that to any single road on a model, it totally changes the whole way it'll flow. You know, if you put 1 carriageway each direction on a road, it'll attract so much traffic. If you put 2 or 3 carriages on it, it'll attract that amount of extra traffic. They just fill up. So having a hairpin bend like that, and I'll give you an example. The Westlink Bridge, they had the toll on it, and when they put the toll on it, they found no traffic used it. They cut it in half and they still found the same. So they had to reduce it a lot less, so their model would actually produce traffic on it. You know, so it is very, very sensitive. So I'm saying is that the traffic model tells you very, very little, and I don't know of any traffic model that's anyway ever right. You know, I can't hardly tell you what I'm doing next week. Never mind, you know, a fortnight's time. Taking this a step forward, this diagram here just shows you the differences, just to simplify it. And this 1C4, it's the same diagram really here. This is just the next rows of the table above it, and it shows that it's 9% increase. But everywhere else, you can see the percentage difference are mega, even without a bridge at Glenlow on it. And you can see the junction up at, as I mentioned, up at Letra here. The traffic is actually diminished massively on it. This here is the Corrib River Bridge coming over. What's not said on this from a noise point of view, and that is that bridge is at an angle to the castle. The castle isn't kind of parallel to the river as you think it is. It's actually offset at an angle, so it's kind of facing that. But the bridge is coming across the river, so it's as close where that person is standing beside the bush there as it is further back, because it's at an angle on it. And you can see the bottom photograph there shows, like in winter, the bridge looking through the view. I've no doubt that will be rebuilt at some stage. And what a fantastic heritage centre, because it has the heritage of the writers of Ireland who used to visit there, the great writers, because all those families used to exchange with one another. All the famous writers from Hearn who wrote the past of Japan to all the other great writers that are recognised worldwide. This view here shows the walking down the avenue from Menlo Gate. But that's in winter. You see that in summer, that bridge will be totally and utterly visible on it. That bridge won't even be seen from Menlo Castle, because the new bridge won't be seen from Menlo Castle, and the noise won't affect it. Only a fraction of the noise would be affected, because it's below ground, as I've already shown you, passing under the avenue, under a bridge. These people would have just walked over the bridge. That was the road. The road would be well down on it. Again, these are two views here that crossing the river on it. This here is a situation in Holland. It's aqueduct Duramente, and there's multiple aqueducts like that. There's a cycle path, as you can see there on the top right on it, brought under the river. It's actually the lake each side, and they've a lot of these bridges, and worldwide, roads are more and more following this route. Here's one that I know particularly a lot about. I know the man who built this. I knew him before he built it. On it, here on the left, you see the roads before and the after. Usually it's the other way around. You can see two bridges. The top one is totally deleted and put underground. The light blue lines on the right-hand one shows where the roads are now. The second bridge, the Puente del Rey, it was put back to its original width, and you can see that it ties in. All these works are right in the centre of Madrid, beside the Royal Palace, just kind of west of it. Right, you can walk to it from Sol, the centre of Madrid. On it, the bottom one shows the Puente del Rey and where the new bridges were put. All of this work that I'm showing you here and much more were built in 2 years, constructed, and you can see the width on the number of carriageways. Like you have 4 carriageways close to the river. You have other ones. You have roads going each way in each direction. So going under the river is no big deal. And I've walked the routes, the metro routes with the Japanese in Dublin. I've walked the metro routes in Dublin with the men who built the Spanish metros. And this type of thing is absolutely, we put a bridge under the river. It's absolutely doable. This here, I think, explains 1,000% why that junction at Bushypark won't work. I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of these trucks come down the road, the N59. A lot of them have trailers as well on them. You expect these trucks to turn right as they come in from Connemara in through my Cullen to the Bushypark Church, to turn right, then to go up a hill, and then to turn onto the motorway, go down the hill and come back. The difference from cost-benefit analysis and connectivity is so huge. On the amendment, they would be the east side of Menlo Castle. They just go through flat alignment to past Glenlow and out. That would save a huge amount of time. So I think that kind of summarises on the that we need a functioning national route to be connected hierarchically correct. And I think that the objectives that have been stated, what we're to achieve in regards of safety, accessibility, and so on, are well founded and should be respected.